if you really think about growing this business and making money, you really have to up your game when it comes to finance.
Welcome to Behind Their Success. This podcast is for people who are feeling stuck on their entrepreneur journey or in their careers. It's for people who want to scale and grow their businesses, learn about the power of mindset, or they just know there's more out there and they want to start making changes. I'm Peyton Squires, the host of the podcast. I was never cut out to be an employee, and when I was an employee, I was bored out of my mind. So I made a plan. I studied and passed the CPA exam in 8 months while working, all with the end goal in mind of quitting my job and starting my own business. I did that in 2014, and it's been an amazing wild ride since. So now let's hear from other entrepreneurs and what mindsets, and probably more important, what actions they have taken that have created and led to their success. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Behind Their Success podcast. I'm Peyton Squires, the host, and today we have on Admira Edvik. She is an award-winning CFO and business advisor. Her journey into the business world includes 3 degrees and 14 years of experience and expertise across all areas of finance and business. She's worked with global institutions, strategically advised multi-million-dollar CEOs, and directed deals always with a view for healthy profits and growth. Admira, good morning. Welcome on the podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're currently doing in your business.
Yeah. Oh God, we're celebrating 5th year this year. As a matter of fact, November will be 5 years in business, which in itself, it's mind blowing. But I come from a family of entrepreneurs myself. So I thought going into this, I got it down. I was like, I know how to do this. Entrepreneurship is what I've been doing from very early. And it's been quite a learning curve. It's been quite a lot of learning lessons. I don't like to call them mistakes because I feel like if I haven't experienced it, I would have not have learned of what to do or not to do. So it's been quite a ride. And honestly, with all the headaches and stresses and struggles and everything else in between, I would not have wanted to have it any differently. Because I feel like in the last 5 years, at least as a professional, I personally have grown a lot, which is great. But what's new in our business? Not much. We focus on finances. So we're working with a lot of entrepreneurs. Lately, we've been working with a lot of construction industry. So a lot more companies are focusing on, I don't know, let's have processes in place. We do need to know our numbers. We need to manage the risk piece. And I'm like, yes, please. So that's been an exciting piece to see and witness. And other than that, it's just been the typical growth, still training people, making sure our team is professionally developed. It's not necessarily like, oh, you got a degree and it's done. Nope. We do have professional development we focus on a lot with our team, our internal operations and processes. Like it's always keeping an eye on overviewing of the things and making sure that they don't really need to work well like an oiled machine per se, but let's make sure that we don't change the oil every 3,000 miles kind of situation. No, just leave it there.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, Admira provides a lot of outsourced CFO services is what she does. And we're, working with a lot of different entrepreneurs, and we actually have a few mutual clients as well. So it's awesome to talk to somebody in the same industry or passionate about the same things I am, around numbers. And I'm sure you can agree with this. You can be shocked at the size of businesses you can come into, from just pure revenue size, like multi-million-dollar businesses. And you come in and the financials in the financial area is just a disaster. As in, or there's just no processes, no nothing. They got the office manager trying to do the books or what have you. And it's a mess. People like her help fix all that.
Yes, we both have seen our fair share of challenges. There was a point of time that we started calling ourselves detectives, because when you walk in, things are so out of shape that we start discovering things and it's all from digging. My partner, Heather, she handles the accounting side of things, and she is really good at digging. And she will look, she likes to say that I need to make the math. And if the math doesn't math, she needs to figure out where it is. And next thing you know, she's going down the rabbit holes of figuring out things that happened 3 years, 5 years. And I'm like, oh my God. So it's impressive. And at the same time, sad, to be honest, because a lot of times I look at these businesses and I'm like, you're working so hard, so hard. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. So we work so hard. Yet, if you just pay attention a little bit to the numbers, you wouldn't have to chase after so much revenue. You would have so much more in the bottom line.
Yeah.
And so people don't tend to think about that. In their view, is as long as I get the revenue, everything else works. I'm like, the way I like to
That's only
describe
part
it
of the
is
equation,
bucket
right?
full of holes. Keep pouring water in. Are you gonna fill up the bucket? Probably not. You're gonna keep pouring in. That rather than focus on fixing the holes. Again, for granted, I'm not necessarily saying fix all of them, but majority of them, so the bucket can fill up.
It's interesting, us being accountants, analytical type data type people. The entrepreneur, the typical entrepreneur is not that. They're the vision casting, the big picture. Like your typical entrepreneur is going to be your big picture person. And that's why big revenue or chasing that revenue is probably the more attractive piece, or the piece they're always focusing on. And you're right. If you have that big vision personality, you probably aren't super strong in the detail. And that's why your bucket is full of holes.
I've said this a million times before. As entrepreneurs, there's this expectation that we should just know everything. We need to know everything. There's this, I don't know where this expectation came from, but it's an expectation that you need to know everything. And I have a different view on that. I'm like, I need to know a little bit of everything, but I don't need to know everything. I don't need to know marketing. I need to understand what marketing is and how it works, and pay attention of like what my team comes up with content, review the content, know what's out there. So I should not be surprised what's been written on behalf of my company. But I don't need to know like exactly how the SEO works, exactly how direct marketing, like I still don't know exactly how all of that works. But that's why I hired professionals that specialize in that, not a VA, not an office manager who should be doing everything, but specifically as professional who exactly focuses on this area, then they can take you to that next level. So I take an approach of, if I can have a strong team next to me, then I don't need to know everything. I need to know a little bit of everything, but not everything. And with finances specifically, there's a lot of shame around numbers. That also, I do not know where it came from, but it probably is cultural. And a lot of people choose, or entrepreneurs specifically choose to, you know what? I just don't want to know. Like, I do not want to look at this. I don't like numbers. I don't like spreadsheets. And so as long as there's money in the bank, we're fine. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, let's not do that. So that fact, I'm just going to hire an office manager,
Especially in the
like,
construction
that's a
industry, right?
horrible idea.
Gosh.
Horrible. In the construction specifically, yes. But in any industry, it's a horrible idea, because I always say there's a reason why there's degrees in accounting. We have all the way to PhD in accounting. That goes to tell you that there is a need for specialization on this that not everyone can do. Sure, anyone can do categorization of transactions. Fine. Okay.
Oh,
Even that, though, I've seen so many times.
you say that, but maybe.
I'm trying to give the benefit of a doubt, but we've seen like that. And two, a lot of times I've seen lately where there is rules that somebody created in QuickBooks, and the next thing you know, a robot is categorizing your stuff. And I'm like, I'm all for technology. I have a technology background, but there's the right way to do technology and the wrong way to do technology. And the fact is, having accurate numbers does not replace it with anything. It doesn't. It doesn't from running your business properly. It doesn't from having your taxes done properly. You can talk about that piece a lot. Like, how many people just do not take advantage of all the tax strategies are
this
out
conversation I have with clients quite a bit is we really specialize in kind of high level tax planning, and I can't do any of that if I don't have numbers that are real. We cannot strategize. We cannot go to higher levels if that foundation's not there, right? Like you have to have the foundation of real financials, and then, man, the whole world opens up to you of all kinds of different options and strategies. And you can do all those things because you know what you're actually looking at.
I'm getting chills by you just saying that, because I'm like, oh my God, somebody understands. Yes, and there have been a lot of people in my profession, specifically CFOs, accountants as well, the ones that work on strategies, the CPAs that just do tax returns. I typically don't hear this from them, but the ones that work on strategies, which is the CPAs I partner with, because as a CFO, I always look at how can we maximize wealth. That's my bottom line. Like, how do we make sure we run a business efficiently, do what we need to do to run this business like a well-oiled machine, but at the same
Yeah.
time, not waste money on areas where we shouldn't be wasting. Taxes is one of them. There's so many tax strategies out there that government wrote these laws for
Yeah.
us to
Well,
take advantage of, and
and
so many
because
companies
they
don't.
they won't get their processes in place and get to a position. It almost sounds like I'm attacking, but me and you just see these areas so many times, and I have so many businesses come in here or talk to so many different entrepreneurs where they're like, "Hey, I don't feel like my accountant's doing this stuff for me," and I understand. Yeah, as the industry, a lot of CPAs and they are just compliance focused and they're just doing tax returns and pumping out tax returns. But to be fair, you
Yeah.
show up on April 10th with a mess of a thing and then wonder why no one's planning or doing strategy with you, right? But it's impossible to do that at that point. So there's responsibility on both sides. It's
Absolutely. The responsibility of entrepreneur is have the foundation in place, have numbers that somebody can do something with. When clients come to me with cash basis books, the first thing I say, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do anything for you. Like, what do you want me to tell you? How much cash you have in the bank? Because other than that, I can't do budgets. I can't do cash flow. I can't look at your receivables and payables and see what processes you have in place because you don't have them.
yeah.
So how would you like me to, what would you like me to advise you on? Or the best yet, when they tell me, I need to look at my pricing strategies. I'm like, okay, so let's look at your cost of sale or cost of service. And that doesn't exist. And I'm like, so how do you want me to
Yeah.
advise you on pricing? It's impossible. So foundation is a must. And when I say foundation, I truly mean have appropriate accounting done,
Mhm.
following general accepted accounting principles, not
Mhm.
bookkeeping. Bookkeeping will get you so far. And I always say clients that are less than $1 million, bookkeeping, okay, fine. That's as much as you need for now. But the minute you
Yeah.
pass that $1 million mark, you have to upgrade. If you really think about growing this business and making money, you really have to up your game when it comes to finance. And it's not a cost. And
Yeah.
everybody looks at the finance
No,
department.
no,
No,
no.
it's just a cost department.
No.
That's what you might be thinking because we don't
No.
bring revenue, but we do bring profits. We do bring that bottom line. And if you don't have that department steady, you can bring as much revenue as you want. You're still gonna be not having enough money at the end of the day. So I know people look at it as it's a cost department. I am like more as no, it's more like an investment department. If you don't have this department, you're just wasting money. That's really what's happening. We focus
Yes.
how to get your business to operate properly, not how you can get your taxes. The minute that I hear a client that
Yeah,
comes and
yeah.
just get me tax ready, I'm
That's
like,
just
you're
they're
not
just
ready
not
to do proper
necessarily
accounting.
a fit for you, or they're looking for a totally different service, right?
It's more reactive. And I'm looking for clients who are more, okay, fine,
Yeah.
reactive because that's what
Yeah.
you have, but I need a change. I need to stop thinking actively and more proactively. Those are the clients that are ready to
Yeah.
really take it to that next level. And those are the clients that I love working with because I'm like, great, I'll tell you all the things you need to know, and we'll bring all the professionals we need to bring on
Yeah.
the side. There's only so much, like,
Yeah.
for example, tax we don't do. That's what we would defer
Yeah.
to you. Be like, you come in and help us with tax strategies here. But or some clients need, even on their personal side of things, some planning. Then we'll bring a financial advisor who
Yeah.
specifically focuses on that. Okay, can you kind of help figure out strategy, how to build their own personal wealth? But that's all proactive. That's all looking ahead and planning ahead.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the mindset,
Yeah, and I'm right there with you.
and
There'll be
it's
clients that
it's a waste.
are still I would categorize as like, nah, they're kind of a mess. But if they have the mindset and if they have the mindset of, hey, I know I've got a problem here. I want what you're telling me that you can provide for me. So let's fix all these things. I can work with that, right? It's like a person like that, I can walk along,
Yes.
hold their hand, and hey, let's go do this. But if it's got to be, they got to have that mindset, right? Are you looking for a new tax experience? Looking for an advisor that actually brings you high-level ideas and proactively plans so you aren't overpaying your taxes? Or how about one that even just responds and communicates in a timely fashion? If any of that resonates with you, you probably just have a tax preparer and not a tax planner. And it is through the tax planning process where all the value is found. I'm Peyton Squires. I'm a CPA and owner of WR Tax Planners. We work alongside entrepreneurs and high-income earners, helping them pay the least amount of income taxes, both legally and ethically. We have saved our clients hundreds of thousands of dollars through specific strategies
and we guarantee we can find multiple tax saving strategies that your current tax preparer hasn't told you about. If that interests you, head on over to the contact page at PaytonSquires.com. There you can fill out a contact form and get a call booked to see what it would look like to have WR tax planners on your team.
So, Admira, I want to kind of change the conversation here, redirect the conversation. So, you told me you grew up as an entrepreneur as a kid, or around that as a kid. Tell us a little bit about your story there.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Montenegro. Used to be former Yugoslavia before it all separated. And then in 2006, Montenegro got its independence. So now we're our own country, super small country across from Italy and its borders with Albania, Serbia, and Croatia. Really small, but it's a gem. If you've never been to Montenegro, it should be in your bucket list. It's beautiful country with beautiful nature, beautiful people and culture. It's just we spent summers there, and to this day, I still we cannot pass the summer without us being there. So love the place. So my parents were entrepreneurs. Actually, even my grandparents were entrepreneurs. It started from my grandparents, and my parents continued it. And we had a grocery store in the middle of the city. That was my parents' first business that they themselves bought. And it was hard work because before that, they used to cultivate fruits and vegetables, sell them in the market, and that's how they made the money. And then with money they made, they finally bought their first store. So it was a huge accomplishment for them. And so it started with my mom and dad doing the work. And then soon it became a family business because all of our kids started working in the store. And I started working there when I was 9. And I started working alongside my dad. And in front of the store, we had, and you'll see on my website, I have a picture. There's like a white fridge in front of the store. But I have a sweet tooth. I love anything sweets. To this day, I still do. And so when I started working at the store, of course, I was eating ice cream all the time. And my dad, may he rest in peace, but he used to be like, this is just not good for you. So he couldn't tell me, he didn't have the heart to tell me to stop eating ice cream. So instead, he would say things like, let's treat this like a business. So this is your business, this little business. Now you need to know how to run this business. You need to know your gross margins and cash flow. And he would use these words that I'm like, what? I just learned how to multiply and divide. What are we talking about? And he would be like, okay, here's how you, and we didn't have registers. So everything was by hand. So if somebody gives you $20 and that something costs $5, this is how you give change. So he would teach me cash flow. And then after that, he used to say, do you know gross margin? And I'd be like, no. And he wouldn't tell me the formula, of course, because I would not have understand it. But he said, eat less, sell more. And by nature, I was always a very competitive kid. And my dad knew that very well about me. He was really good at knowing our strengths as kids, to the point that he always played with each one of our strengths. So for me, I was always a kid that loved the challenges, loved to prove somebody that I can do things. And so he would tell me, eat less, sell more. And I was like, I can do that. And next thing you know, I was eating less ice cream and selling more because I wanted to improve my margins. But that's when I started my entrepreneurial journey. That's when I started learning about finance. By age 12, I ran my parents' store. And then by age 15, I did everything from inventory implementation to new register system, because then times started changing and we had to have more digital registers.
Yeah.
Let's just say
And
that I was just
learned a
attached
whole
to that
lot of
place.
lessons, I'm sure.
I learned a lot of lessons. I'm a big observer. I observe a lot. But yeah, that's where my journey started. And then because we lived in a small country, opportunities were very limited for us. Plus we were ethnical minorities. So double that. Plus a girl, which girls were, it was predominantly a male ran country. But my dad had 3 girls. So I'm one of 3. And my dad, from very early on, didn't want us to be one of the statistics. And statistics was, you finish your high school, you get married, you become a housewife. Nothing wrong with that at all. Whoever chose to go that route. But my dad wanted it to be a choice, not just, this is just what you do. And so because I knew the opportunity was limited, I figured out that in order to get to college or register college, one, you either had to have one of the Montenegrin last names, which I didn't have, or know somebody high enough to allow you to get into college, because there was only 500 students registered in college in a particular year.
Mhm.
So then I got my first computer when I was 13 years old. And I put it to good use because somehow I figured out that there's an exchange program where you can come to US as a high school student, exchange high school student, finish high school here and get a US high school diploma.
Mhm.
And with that diploma, I could register in any college I wanted without acceptance exams. Of course, I went to my parents and I said, I figured this out. You have to let me do it. And of course, it took more convincing for my dad specifically. But he allowed me to come to US. So I got my degree. And then after that, my goal was to go back. But my dad, bless his heart, he said, since you're there, you might as well finish college there. And it started with one degree and then the second degree and then the third degree. And
That's all.
19 years later, here I am.
Yeah. So your story, a few things that stand out in your story. Number one is like I think one of your main skills there is, or throughout that whole story, is you're constantly trying to figure things out. And that is such a characteristic I see of successful people, where it is, you're constantly in a state of trying to figure things out. Most people aren't trying to do that, right? Like you're constantly trying to learn, constantly trying to grow. That's not normal, really. The stats around like the amount of people that have read a book since college, like, is something like 30% that have even read one book since they've left college. And the stats like that are just crazy. But like, that is such a key differentiator between people that get things done that don't, are ones that are just willing to learn. And you have that tenacity where you don't let go.
I like to say
Mhm.
having a student mentality is not just in business, but in life in general. And just as an example, like I'm big into health. Yeah, I see quite a lot of people in my community, people around me, people that are dear to me that get sick from one disease to another. And I started thinking, like, what in the world is happening? Like I've never heard so many things, so many people getting sick. And that's when I started thinking, like, something to look into. If you hear all of these things going around you, the key thing is to pay attention. Actually, the paying attention piece came to me when I first moved to US. Oprah still had a show. And after school, I would watch TV and it was Oprah's show. And I'll never forget her last show, which was just her talking. And there was this one thing that she said, and it stuck with me. I'm talking, this is 20 years now. It stuck with me. And she said, pay attention to the signs, because God will give you signs time and time again. If you don't see them, he'll then throw a brick at you and hit that, then he'll have a wall in front of you. And that stuck with me for ages. So now what I try to do a lot, and I'm not perfect at this, trust me, I've hit some bricks, maybe some walls too, but I try my best to pay attention to surroundings. Let that be business, let that be personal, let that be family, and try to see what is happening around us. What can I learn from this? And is there something that I should look further into? I do this even on behalf of my clients. Like, I work with my clients and I start seeing their behaviors. I pay attention a lot, how they behave, how they talk, will they stress about something or not. Like, sometimes they just don't tell me. And then after a call, I'll just ping them and be like, you didn't seem like your normal self. You want to talk? Do you want to chat a bit? Let's see what's happening. And then they'll share something. It's business related most of the times. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So let me help you figure this out. Maybe I don't have an answer, but I'll go to my network and figure out who can help me with this. And so again, if we don't have that student mentality, I feel like we are just disservicing ourselves, our community, our family, our clients, because things change. I didn't have to worry about food when I was living in Montenegro. To this day, you still don't have to worry about food in Montenegro. And when it's not even a joke. I go to the market, I buy strawberries. If I don't need them within 2 days, those strawberries are already molded. In US, you go buy strawberries, 2 weeks later, still strawberries are pretty good. Pay attention to that. Like, well, why? Why would strawberries here last so much longer than they would in Montenegro? Should I be eating these kind of strawberries, or should I look for something more natural? Let me look further into that. What does this do to our bodies, our children's bodies? So again, have that curiosity. I think that's
I
pretty
got
much what it
a
boils
good
down to.
friend
Have
that's
the
in my
curiosity.
mastermind group, and he's an executive coach, business coach, and that's his whole thing is get more curious is literally his website. And it's always about his kind of whole deal is like one great question can change your life. So get more curious, ask better questions. The quality of your life is directly related to the questions you ask. And I love that story you're talking about. You're almost like a counselor to some of your clients. And it's paying attention to, okay, let me step back here and watch this client and see how they act, see their habits, see their emotions, all those things. And the only way you can really do that is being as the advisor or the person helping a client is that you need to be self-aware, right? Like you need to be as self-aware as possible because that's going to allow you to come in, give third-party perspectives to any situation to help somebody because your client is just trapped in this situation and they have these emotions and they don't know what's going on. And you can come in from this outside perspective and be like, just do that and or whatever and fix that situation.
Absolutely. And I'll give you very briefly an example. This happened a couple of months ago. I don't attend every single client call, but I do know what's happening with every single client. So we have Monday meetings with my team where we go through every single client and I get briefed into what's happening with every client. And there's this particular client, my team member, Boyana, comes in. She's like, hey, I had a call with her. This is what we discussed. And I looked at the numbers and the numbers didn't really translate to exactly what we expected that was happening. And then Boyana tells me something that happened on a call that I noticed that she said. And I'm like, I need to book a call with her, with the client. And so I reached out to her and I said, hey, I know I wasn't able to join the call, but can we and you meet? And we did. We met. And then we're talking. And the amount of stress that is coming out of her breath, out of her mouth, I could feel it through Zoom. And then I said to her, okay, let's take a step back, take a breather, let's hop on another call. So in this particular case, what has happened is that the revenue streams that we anticipated to happen were not coming through. I was digging a little further into understanding why, and then realized that this particular sector that she was focusing on, there was a lot of funding taken back, which meant no extra money for her business to deliver services. So I encouraged her to, instead of stressing about this, let's be smart and let's shift. And I tasked her to figure out different revenue streams she could possibly think about that could help her not to be dependent on this funding. And she was prepared to go on vacation. And she's like, I don't feel like going on vacation. I'm like, no, go on vacation. You need to go on vacation. Not even a luxury for you right now. It's a must. You need to step away from the business. You need to take a minute back so you can come back with clear head. She came back. She had 3 pages of ideas of all things that she could do that she would be in control of from a revenue perspective. Again, I'm getting chills by thinking about it because I'm like, I didn't really do the work.
But you asked good questions.
I don't even want to take credit for it. But I asked the question. I was like, I see her. I know she can do this, but she's right now stuck a bit. And it happens to all of us. It happens to me as an entrepreneur. And I go to my girls I talk to all the time, my friends Alina and Corina, I said, like, I'm stuck. I'm stressing about this. And sometimes I tell them, like, can you guys help me snap out of this? And then Alina would come with like, okay, let's see what's exactly happening so we can help you get out of that. It happens to all of us. Either we like to admit it or we don't. But if you as an advisor, as a consultant, are able to see that for the impact you can make, it's beyond any, like the impact you can make is even for me is beyond any numbers. So it's really important to be curious. It's really important to pay attention to people. I think we have gotten lost in the people sector, especially with technology around us. Everything is text. Everything is email. And I'm like, can we move into voice messages and Zoom videos? And that's how I communicate for the most part with my clients. And I encourage them to do the same.
I had a call with a client just the other day or last week or whenever it was, but they weren't on camera and we were doing like a Teams type meeting or whatever. And they weren't on camera. And I was like, I couldn't connect with them like at all. You know what I mean? Like it was so hard I'm talking, they're not really saying much. I can't see them. I can't even tell how this conversation's going. And it's, the emotion and just typing words, you can read a sentence 5 different ways, right? There's no emotion in it, no body language, no context. It can mean a myriad of different things, just the pure words on the page. So lack of communication, that causes almost every problem.
Oh, yes. Yes. And for me, it's important that people are being seen and heard. And because the entrepreneurial world, you've heard this so
Yep.
many times, it's such a lonely place to be, such a lonely place. And you're left with spreadsheets and emotions and translations and operations and then you're like, I just want to
Yeah,
sleep
well,
right
and
now. I don't know what to
that's the
do,
thing.
but
When
I
you're
don't
in that
even know who to speak
entrepreneurship world,
to.
you say it's a lonely place, and I 100% agree. There's very few people in your daily life, your normal circle that you can just talk to about. I'm running this multi-million-dollar business. I can't go talk to my
Yeah.
father-in-law about it. Or, and I'm not saying me specifically, but just in general, it's like your father-in-law is they don't know. like like it's so hard to find somebody that can actually connect with and share the burdens, that can understand what you're going through. And that's what's been so huge for me is in the last couple of years is getting involved in a mastermind group, and it's full of 50-ish people that are doing pretty much the same type. I mean, we're all in different industries and whatever and all around the country, but we have all the same experiences and dealing with the same junk and like overhead and payroll and like, how do I do this? How do I mark? I mean, just all the junk that comes along with entrepreneurship, but we can lean on each other. And we know that I can put a message out there into this network, and like, between all of us, we'll have a solution.
Yes, it is so important to find that. I will say that a lot of entrepreneurs do not consider a mastermind as something that is valid. I was part of a mastermind last year, and it was the same thing. And you show up in there, and a lot of times was business, but there were times where I had a newborn at a time, and I'm
And you
like,
do that.
can somebody please tell me how to it's like, how do you run a business that is still new, pretty still a child per se, and I have a newborn and a 6-year-old, and I feel like, and then at the time I had my Paula was going through some health issues, so my husband was like already said it was so overwhelming that I feel like had I not had the
Yeah.
mastermind and people be like, we hear you, we've been there. Here are a few things for you to consider. It's not that we weren't talking at each other or telling each other what to do, but more sharing experiences. And after that call, I'll be like, okay, so I don't really feel alone. Like, feels like other people have gone through this. And the encouragement that it will be okay. It is okay. You are in the midst of it right now, but it
This
will be
too shall
okay.
pass.
It's just such a relief. Exactly. You will figure it out. It might look overwhelming right
Yeah.
now, but you will figure it out. It is so helpful. And I know that a lot of my clients don't have those masterminds. So when I work with them, I try to
Yeah.
give them a little bit of, you're not alone in this. Like, I'm here to help you. Yes, I'm your CFO. I get it. I'm supposed to just deal numbers, but I'm more than numbers.
Everything is like behavioral habits, and the numbers ultimately come out of that. And as consultants and really any aspect, we're helping the entrepreneur as like a person, right? Because like, yes, we can talk about numbers and strategies and tax stuff and all these things, but they are the thing that has to change, and we have to help them make the decisions to change. And that's what plays out in the numbers, right? Like you said, it's helping the person.
Yes, I always say it's the story behind the numbers. I can look at the numbers and I can tell you the story behind them. And I can look at the numbers from month to month and tell you if something is off with my client or not. So it will play out in the numbers
Yeah.
all the time. And people look at it like, oh, it's just numbers. I'm like, the right advisor, let it be a CPA, let it be a CFO, let it be a controller or an accountant who does just books. If they know the story behind the numbers, if they can read the story behind the numbers, they will tell you that it's not just numbers. So I don't send spreadsheets to my clients. We have a mandatory once a month call, period, full stop. I don't even want to hear any objections around it. And the idea here is so we can review those spreadsheets, so we can
The
review
story,
the numbers,
what's
so they
happening.
understand the story behind the numbers. And I place what's happening so we can unwheel things. And
Right.
that's when I feel like the magic happens.
So going back, what piece of advice would you give your younger self? Say you're coming to the United States and you could tell her one thing. What would it be?
Oh boy. That's a tough one. What would be one thing be? Okay, it's almost sound like a sad story because when I came to US, I was very driven and very focused to the point like I almost had blinds on. I'm here to get my education and I'm gonna work hard and that's it. What that translated into is not a lot of time with family, not a lot of time with friends, not a lot of time enjoying self, thinking that I have a whole life ahead of me to do all of that stuff. And unfortunately, my last semester in college, I lost my dad. And that's when it hit me.
That's a big wall.
That's that wall per se, because I didn't see the sign. There's the wall, and this wall, unfortunately, was not reversible. And that's when I said, I wish I would have taken 5 years to finish college than 4. I wish I didn't take summer classes and would have been in Montenegro and spent time with family. I wish. So if I were to tell one thing to my younger self is ambition, sure. Success, sure. But do not forget that we're humans and therefore take the time to spend time with people you care so much about.
That's been a focus of myself this year, of enjoying the ride, right? Because in many ways, I've been similar to the story you described there, of just like hard driving, blinders on, almost like anxiously striving all the time, right? And that's not as much fun as life can be, right? Like when that's your 100% focus, right? The whole point is also to have, like, enjoy the ride, have fun. Yes, go do everything you want to do and be passionate about it, but don't beat yourself up all the time. And entrepreneurs, the hard driving ones, that's a real fault, right? Where you aren't having a lot of fun.
It's chasing after that next thing, chasing. And this is one thing I do with my entrepreneurs all the time. I try to understand, what are you trying to accomplish? Where are you going? And 9 out of 10 times, everyone responds with something family related. And that's when I have to say to them, okay, in this case, sure, business, yes. Work hard, yes. I have a rule in my own organization. Saturdays, Sundays, there's no work. Don't get me wrong. If something is urgent, I will jump in. But other than that, no. Saturdays, it's my sister days. So my sister lives only 15 minutes from here. So our kids get together, me and her get together. Either she comes over or I go over. And then Sundays, it's my family days, meaning my husband is off. Like, my husband doesn't work on Sundays. It took a long time to make him have Sundays off, but it's a family day. It's like, look, we work hard 5 days a week. Like, we barely see each other. Weekends is for us because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we don't take anything with us.
The success and money and all that stuff, that's all as temporary as all get out, right? And can be taken from you, right? But the experiences and the having great relationships are, that's what it's about. So, Admira, great conversation. What is the best way people connect with you, connect with your business, or whatever you got going on?
Yeah, so I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is pretty unique. I'm pretty sure you cannot confuse me with anyone else. But on LinkedIn is the easiest. We do have a website, carecfo.com. That's where you can read more about my story, my team's story. They are on the website as well, because I do have a team that works with me, and a little bit about how we help clients. There's some case studies there as well.
Listeners, we will catch you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found it valuable, please rate, review, and share it. That is the best way to help us build this and reach more people, as we're trying to accomplish our goal of help creating more healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs. You can follow us on social media by searching for me, Peyton Squires, or going to PeytonSquires.com. On the website and social media, we're always sharing tips of personal growth, and there we can actually interact. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.